In this video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why the market is going to crash. We're going to talk about everything you need to know about real estate in today's market. Rates are shifting, inventory is shifting, and we're seeing a lot of new changes come every single day to the real estate market. Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Cody Steck. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Like I said, in this one, we're talking about 3 reasons why the market is going to crash. This is going to be a 2-part series where I actually go through and just tell you a little bit about why I think the market will crash or could crash, and then also 3 reasons why I don't think it will happen that way. So this is going to be part number 1. We're talking about why it will, and then in part number 2, we're going to talk about why I don't think the market will crash. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, because that's something you're going to want to stay up to date on so you don't miss that second part to get the other side of the story. Now, when it comes to things like this, I'm all about being in a position where you can just look at it, objectively and just say, okay, here's the pros, here's the cons, here's what I think is going to happen, and try to make your best assessment off of that. I think that's really important when it comes to anything financial. If you have a financial decision, I think that's really important to look at it that way and kind of weigh all of your options. So in this video, the first thing I want to talk about is number 1 is going to be inventory is increasing. So we are seeing additional homes come to the market. In fact, in the month of May, we went from 2,500 listings here in my market all the way to 5,000. So May 1st, 2,500. By the end of May, we were at 5,000. And actually now today on June 21st, 3 weeks into June, we're actually sitting at 7,000 listings. Now, that might sound like a lot. That's obviously a big increase. That's almost triple from what it was just 45 days ago, but it's actually not. If you look back at the data from 2018, 2019, the number of listings that we have now is actually pretty close in line with what it was then. The reason why we're seeing those listings increase and why we have more inventory is because homes are not selling as quickly. So those new homes come onto the market and then they sit on the market for longer before being sold and going under contract, right? So you go from an active listing to under contract and then officially being sold. The homes that are coming onto the market are not selling as quickly, and that's causing more homes to sit on the market and for that number to increase. Now, the reason why this could potentially be damaging for the market is because as inventory goes up, you're going to see that demand will maybe not meet that level, right? So general economics is basically just supply and demand, right? If you've got supply and demand that match each other, you're going to have a very balanced market. At least you should in theory. If you have demand that way outpaces supply, you're going to see prices increase because a lot of people are trying to rush into the market, and that's what we saw over the last couple of years. However, if inventory continues to increase, that supply could then outpace that demand, especially because demand has dropped, which we're going to talk about here in a second. If that demand drops and then you've got too much supply, then you've got a lot of people who are trying to sell a home that are going to be forced to drop their prices in order to get their home sold. The thing that you have to keep in mind is when people are selling real estate, it may or may not be for a specific reason, right? There's going to be people out there who just want to sell their house and upgrade to something new, and they feel like now's the right time to do it. And there's going to be people who have to sell for one reason or another. This could be a job change, could be a death in the family, a divorce, something like that that would actually cause them to sell the home. Those people are going to be more motivated and therefore are going to drop their prices, which will then push the prices down or at least put downward pressure on it. So if that inventory continues to increase like it has been, that could potentially be damaging for the real estate market. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is how demand has dropped. We've actually seen a lot of demand drop off of the market, and this is for a number of reasons. One, I think it's buyer fatigue. We've actually seen a lot of buyers who are in the market looking for houses, trying to buy something for months, if not years, and they just haven't been able to do something, and now prices are so high that it just looks ridiculous. Now, add on top of that the fact that interest rates have gone up substantially. We're now seeing interest rates in the 6.5% range, which is extremely high from where it was even just 4, 5, 6 months ago. This is almost 3 to 3.5% higher than some of the low interest rates that we saw. I even saw interest rates in the 2% range, but most people were getting them in the 3% range. So going from 3% to 3.5% is obviously a big swing, and that actually causes you to lose about 30 to 35% of your purchasing power. A good rule of thumb is that for every 1% interest rate increase that you have, you're going to lose 10% of your purchasing power. So if you had a $500,000 home and you qualified at X% interest rate, if that interest rate goes up 1%, therefore you should only be able to qualify for a home that is roughly in the $450,000 range, at least to keep your payment that same amount. So if you want your payment to stay the same, you got to come down 10%. which would then bring you down to that $450,000 mark. So as we see interest rates go up, prices usually come down. Now there's a little bit of a caveat here because prices don't have to come down. That's not something that's absolutely necessary just because interest rates are going up, but it generally means that it does happen, right? Because as more and more people lose that purchasing power, maybe let's say you were able to afford a $700,000 home and now you can only afford a $550,000 or $600,000 home because of that, massive 30 to 35% change. Maybe, to be in a range where you've got a comfortable monthly payment, your qualifying amount is now lower, right? You're in the 600,000 range, let's say. Well, there's going to be a lot of people who are trying to sell homes in the $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 range that are not going to be able to do that as easily for that maximum price like they could 6 months ago. And that's just because there's less people who can afford those more expensive homes. So I think this is actually going to impact people at the higher price points. For here in my market, that's going to be anything above about 600,000. There's going to be less people who can afford that, and so there's going to be a harder time to sell those properties compared to anything that's under 600,000. Now, as we jump into point number 3, if you guys are thinking about making a move here to Utah, or you already live in the area and you want to buy, sell, invest in real estate, or maybe even build with a builder, I would love to help you. I want to be your trusted resource for anything real estate related. Make sure to reach out to me. My information will be here on the screen as always, and you can find it in the description box below. I've had people from literally all across the world reach out, as well as people here in my own backyard, and I would love to help you as well. So I can't wait to hear your story. Call, text, or email anytime, and let's have a chat about the type of home and lifestyle that you're looking to have for your new home here, right? So number 3, we're gonna talk about inflation. Inflation is kind of out of control right now. We've seen some of the highest levels we've seen in 40 years. This is something that's getting beat to death. If you look at the media, if you look at everything else out there, we're seeing inflation at the highest levels. Of course, everybody's really feeling that. Food prices are up. Of course, gas prices are up. That's driving a lot of this. Gas prices are absolutely insane right now, and a lot of people are really feeling the pain from that. I think in the way that this relates to the real estate market is we're actually seeing that prices have far outpaced everything else, and you could even say that prices have inflated and been at some of the highest levels we've ever seen. So if those prices are high, we expect those to come back down and hopefully become a more balanced market, and I think that's one reason why we could see some pretty big price drops, is not only because of reason number 1 and 2 that we talked about, but also because of the shift in the balance of the real estate market. Now, what I mean by that, if I expand on it a little bit, is that over the last couple of years, prices have gone up substantially and rent prices have not quite followed. Generally speaking, it's pretty close on your numbers of where it makes sense to rent a property or to purchase a property. Now, this varies from state to state, so it does kind of depend on where you live. But here in my area in Utah, we are seeing that purchasing a house has actually gotten so much more expensive than renting that in a lot of cases, renting can make more sense, especially if you're not looking to, bunker down and be in one spot for a long time. So because those rent prices have lagged behind the increase in housing prices, we are seeing a lot of people fall out of the market, which again is going to lower that demand because they look at it and say, well, I can go rent this house for $2,000 a month, whereas if I were to go purchase it, it would cost me $2,600 a month. That's a big enough gap there that it does skew that supply and demand between purchasing a house and renting a house. So with that, inflation is kind of out of control. I think this is another potential reason why we could see some pretty big swings in the market. In this video, I tried to give you 3 objective points and just say, hey, here's 3 reasons why I think it could crash. Like I said, in part number 2, we're gonna flip the script and look at the other, 3 other reasons why I don't think it will crash. Now, for my own personal opinion, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I think that prices could come down 5 to 10% by the end of the year, but I don't think we're gonna see a massive crash unless these 3 reasons that I just pointed out here in the video are, continue to be a problem and continue to persist. I don't know that we're going to see that massive crash. If prices did come down 5 to 10%, I think that would actually be healthy. I think it would be good for sellers to get a little bit more realistic about what's in the market. It would be good for investment properties. If you're looking at rentals, nothing makes sense right now. And if you're a buyer in this market, of course, you will benefit the most from that, so long as interest rates don't continue to climb up from where they are. So even though prices may come down, if interest rates continue to rise, you may still end up paying the same amount. So again, my personal opinion, I think we might see prices come down 5 to 10%. I'd be surprised if it's anything more than 15%. I just don't think that's going to happen with the way that things are right here in our backyard of Salt Lake City. I just don't see that happening. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to reach out to me if you're thinking about buying, selling, investing in real estate, or even building a house. We work with a lot of people who want to build as well. We'd love to help you. I want to be your trusted real estate resource, and my information's here on the screen. Call, text, or email anytime. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for part number 2, and we'll catch you in the next one.